Hello, everybody. It's Pedro, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about something or give answer to a question that a lot of people over the years have been asking me, which I totally understand. And this question is especially from someone who is really successful or might not be super successful at what they do at their job, but they want to get into business, right? And of course, the first initial question is how the hell do I start this? How can I get my first clients? How does that work, right? And so I wanted to make a video directly related to that question to give answer and some pointers to that question, which is a totally legitimate question, by the way. And although there are other videos that I've recorded here in which I told my story and how it happened, that's just a way, and there's not a single way that it's going to work, and or a single way that is it's not going to work. Actually, there is a single way that it's not going to work, and the single way that it doesn't work is avoiding putting yourself up there. That's definitely how it's not going to work, right? Why? Because people simply don't know about like what you have to offer, right? But when it comes to really starting out, as we did for ourselves, let's just do a quick recap. So, how the way we did it was we created a sort of like movement that it doesn't need to be super big, by the way. It doesn't, because when we speak about the word movement, potentially in everybody's minds and in a lot of people's minds are, this amount of like thousands of people. It doesn't need to be thousands, can be just a few dozen, and that's enough. Okay, to start with at least. But you need to start somewhere, and then that base is gonna grow eventually, right? But the way that we did it was we created a live show during the pandemic, and I wanted to create a movement, a specific movement, because it was so defined of the thing that I wanted to build, which was something related to career growth in the visual effects market within a certain discipline of visual effects, and to demystify exactly how you get there, because a lot of people in our niche, a lot of people have been doing that for 15 years or 10 years, 15 years, whatever the amount of years is. And a lot of people don't get there. Or the ones that get there, they get there and then they, immediately after that first time happened, they go down. So they don't sustain, right? And because my trajectory was really different, I wanted to give that value to people and to basically tell them like what is exactly that you need to do in order to achieve the same results, basically. So that was like sort of like in a nutshell the type of stuff that I wanted to do at that time with the YouTube channel. I was not aiming for specific numbers. In fact, I was not hoping for anything. To be honest, I just wanted to do something that I've never done before until then, which was like creating a YouTube channel, creating a live show, a well-defined show, by the way, because we had an introduction piece, then we had the tips and tricks piece, which was basically the meat of the whole thing. That's how I guess it attracted so many people, because at that time, within that second segment within the live show, there was a pre-recorded content that I was inserting mid live show that will basically teach people on how to solve certain problems within discipline that I'm from within that market. And then the end segment was a interview with someone in the high hierarchy side of things in visual effects, meaning supervision, to demystify that how you get there in that role, really, because for a lot of people it's sort of like the ultimate goal that they want to achieve, but there's a lot of questions and doubts and how it really works, etc. And so that was the show, and it was really defined from the get-go the people that I wanted to attract, and that's key. That's key because it's not so much like what is the outlet that you choose, but rather the clarity of the thing that you want to, you know, have an opinion about, right? Or the people that you're trying to attract. It needs to be congruent, like with your story. It needs to be congruent with the things that you want to build, etc. But that's how you attract the right people and repel the people that are perhaps not part of that group, and that's totally fine. You're not trying to attract everybody. You're trying to attract specific people, right? In the same way that you know someone chooses a certain profession, it's because there's something that is resonating with that person to choose that one as opposed to this other one, and that's totally fine. A doctor is as valuable as a butcher. the world needs all of these people, right? So there's no right or wrong. It's just like a decision, right? But it needs to be well defined, right, for the right reasons as well. So that's exactly what we did. So we had a very like a lot of clarity regarding who we wanted to attract, what we were trying to build at that time. Although in the very beginning we didn't have like super 100% clarity, that came very short after. But it's through the process of putting yourself out there that you're gonna find more and more answers. But that's what it takes. It takes like choosing one of these outlets, and I'm gonna list a few of them, to start to creating a community, a movement around your ideas, and have people that connect with their ideas, and have other people that perhaps tune in but they don't connect with your ideas. That's fine too, right? That's not the people that you want to attract. But how do you start? Just to circling back to the beginning of the video, so you start exactly by choosing one of these outlets. In our case was YouTube, which was not only YouTube, but it was like a specific type of video, which was a live show, really well defined for a very specific type of people, and a very defined show in itself. Because as I said before, there was an intro, tips and tricks, and an interview at the end, right? So this was a show that lasted, I guess, 1.5 hours, and it was engaging. And let's not forget that at that time, this was the pandemic, so a lot of people were, scared, just at home because it was lockdown and stuff like that. And we wanted to create something that would take them from that you know mental state to have to be the ones that would give them some clarity about like what was going on in the world regarding that market, at the same time educating them and giving them like a lot of value with videos. In this case, when it came to the tips and tricks part, ways of solving problems different from the norm, and that's how people start tuning in. So you need to find your edge as well, whatever that edge might be, that is congruent and relevant for you to start with, and then from you to other people as well, so people can also tune in into your ideas or the thing that you're trying to solve or help them out with, right? And that's how it worked for us. So for us, it was YouTube, but there's a ton of other things out there that you can try. It can be YouTube, whether it's live show or pre-recorded content. It can be WhatsApp groups. Not there's shortage of that, quite the opposite, especially lately. But it's an opportunity. All of these things are free, by the way. It can be a school group or a circle group or whatever. I mean, these platforms are paid, so this is sort of like a more paid version of how you can build a community. You don't need to go on that route if you don't want to. I'm telling you, like all the some of the avenues. It can be an Instagram channel. It can be a a Facebook group, can be a Facebook channel. I don't know. There's a ton of these things out there for free, by the way, once again, that you just need to make a decision on putting yourself out there and then start conveying your ideas. But it needs to be defined as much as possible so you attract the right people, and define also in the fact that you need to have your ICP, your ideal client profile, well defined to know the demographics, the psychographics, and all that kind of stuff. So you know exactly where they hang out. Because if you are chasing someone within a group that they're not a part of, then most likely you're not going to find them, right? So you need to understand where these people hang out. Can be LinkedIn, can be Instagram, can be WhatsApp group, whatever, right? You don't know. If you don't do this research prior, you don't know, right? And potentially that's what's happening if you find yourself like asking this question: where, how the hell do I start this, right? It's because you don't have the clarity of any of this, and that's why you don't know where to find these people, right? But this is how it goes. In the same way that you interact with some videos from some certain creators or certain people that you look up to, same thing happens if you are one of the people that are not conveying your ideas. Other people will tune into your ideas. Okay, so this is how you start. It doesn't matter so much the platform. Matters in the sense of it needs to be a platform that you know that your ICP will be inside. Otherwise, you're just shooting for something, or choosing a platform in which most likely your ICP is not going to be there. But this is how it works. So it's not so much about anything else rather than the courage and taking the step to start. you're not going to have all the answers. The answers will come, and all of these things in the beginning and throughout your journey, all of these things and others will be experiments. So you need to be willing to experiment so you can get the answers and then fine tuning after, as opposed to the other way around. Because a lot of times what happens is also there's a lot of people going in this never ending cycle of research on top of research and looking, at a lot of other creators, looking whether or not they have competition. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. In fact, if you have competition, it's actually a good thing, because that means that that thing that you're trying also to do, it's been proven, that works, that there is appetite out there for that thing to be solved, for that problem to be addressed, right? And so that's basically how it works. So the way you start is really this: creating a small movement of people that engage with your ideas. But the crucial piece of this little puzzle that we've been talking about in the past 10 minutes, it's the conversion that you need to do from using some of these platforms to bring some of these people into your world outside these platforms. So this conversion, what I'm talking about, is you have to have some sort of process that takes the people that are engaging with your content, independent of the platform that you're choosing, with likes, comments, or whatever. That's nice, and that feels good, because you feel, for your ego, that your message is being well received for some people. Doesn't need to be a lot of people, as I said before, but you need to have a process that takes these people from doing just a simple like or a simple comment into your world, so you can engage with these people outside this platform at any point. Okay, this can be something as simple as a newsletter, or it can be as simple as a VSL. Okay, you need to have a VSL is a video sales letter. So you need to have a process that basically converts these people into your world, so you can then follow up with these people after, or outside the content that you're putting in one of these platforms, so you can engage and know a little bit more about whatever thing that you need to have further clarity on, in terms of like what are they expecting, what are the things that they would like you to solve based on your experience, based on your ideas. You can have, for example, live sessions. You can even meet them in person, all of that kind of stuff. It's way easier to do that if you have converted them into your world, and meaning name and email to start with. Can be mail, can be name, email, and phone number as well. But you need to have a process that exchanges something extra, okay, apart from the content, for them to give their details to receive that other something in exchange that you have to give them. For example, if it's a newsletter, depending on the type of stuff that you want to do, but it can be like every week you're going to receive tips on how to improve this. Let's say that you are in fitness, okay? It can be something like specific tips, for example, to lose belly fat. I don't know. I'm just making things up because that's not my niche, right? But it can be something for career growth, like tips and tricks. Like every week, you're going to receive like actionable steps and actionable valuable things that you can implement that will contribute for career growth, for example, right? So you need to have some sort of like valuable exchange, so they should be willing to give their details, and then from that exchange you convert them into your world. Okay, and then you can further, you know communicate with them, you can further nurture them, you can further educate them, you can further um, you know give them value, more and more and more, basically nurturing them, right? And then there's other things that you can do, like offering more, more things that they're not fit to be offered within the platforms that you're putting your content. Can be, as I said before, like a live session, a Zoom live session, or it can be something in person. It all depends on the type of thing that you're trying to build, and the people that you're trying to serve, right? But this is how you start. It's as simple as that. I'm not saying that just because it's simple it's easy. It's not that complicated, to be honest with you, but I think the most complicated part, if we want to put things in these terms, is you know having that foundational piece really well defined, meaning what you're trying to solve, what is your angle to solve this problem, like how you take person from point A to point B. Okay, and you do that with content, you do that, after you putting content out there, like how you further nurture them, all that kind of stuff. So you need to have like clarity about this, and also clarity about where is who is your ICP, of course, to start with, and then through that process, knowing where do they hang out with, and where what's the platform that they normally are more present. Okay, because it might be Instagram, but it might be LinkedIn, it might be Facebook, it might be whatever, right? It doesn't really matter to start with what is the platform that you're going to choose. You don't need to choose all of them. I would say actually you choose one or two. I would say maybe one to start with, and then making sure that these people are within that platform, and then you do your content that is related to your expertise, related with the problem that you know that you can solve for other people, and then you start attracting some of these people, repelling some others. That's totally fine. That's what you want, because you don't want to work with everybody. And that's through that process, then you're gonna create that little movement. Then potentially it's gonna grow over time, hopefully, right? But the crucial piece about this is creating a movement that you can interact with past the posts, past the platform that you are choosing. Okay, that doesn't mean that after that moment you stop posting or you start putting yourself out there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is at the same time that you do that, convert them into your world. Okay, because that's crucial to further nurture them, to have other types of conversations with them outside these platforms. Okay, so answering the question about how do I start? Hopefully, this video gave you some pointers, because there's a ton of ways that you can start, right? Um, there's no, necessarily speaking, right or wrong platform. It all depends on your ICP. It all depends on how you convey your ideas. There are there are certain platforms that have a certain style to it that might resonate more with the way that you want to talk about things, or the type of professionals or people that you're trying to get after. All of that kind of stuff matters, but what really matters is the decision of putting yourself out there and to take that step in order for that to happen, because without that, there's definitely no way that you're gonna create any movement. Okay, and by the way, one thing that I also notice is people doubling down on things that are not working. So, as I said before, like to do this conversion like a newsletter or a VSL, or, whatever it may be, like a score, I mean, whatever thing that you have out there, if it's not working, that means that there's something within that lead magnet that is not resonating with the people that you want to speak with. Can be the lead magnet itself, can be the way that it's constructed, can be the way that it's delivered. There's a ton of ways of why that's possibly not happening. If it's not happening, you need to, like in any experiment, you need to reevaluate, what are the results after the first, assumptions, because you don't know until you try. But if you've been trying a certain thing for a long period of time, and if it's not working, then it's because it's not the right thing, or the thing that you have is might be the right thing, but it's built in the wrong way, or not in the correct way for it to attract the people that you want it to attract. So everything that you're going to do is going to be an experiment, and then you fine tune in order for you to basically find the winning combination, or the winning um, way of building things that resonate with the people that you want it to resonate with, right? There's no it can be very deflating, just trying things on top, like many 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 times the same thing without the results. If that's the case, that's a very clear indication that that thing is not built in the right way, or is simply not the right thing for people to engage with, because they see it and they say, this is not for me, I'm gonna pass, right? So you need to always have this mentality, sort of like a scientist almost, in which you have an assumption, you put things in practice. If it doesn't work, that means it's not working. So you just refine it and try something else, right? And that's why working with someone is so important, because it's going to give you that clarity that perhaps you don't have, because all of us, we are very bad at looking at us with that distance. So that's why sometimes we need other people to help us out, and that's sort of like the work that I do as well. But yeah, this is basically answering the question. This is exactly how you start. You start by creating a little movement. Doesn't need to be super big. It needs to be the right amount of people, because it's way better, and I think you can understand this. It's way better that you have 10 people that are super fans of yours that really engage with your conversations and they are potentially your clients, as opposed to 1,000 people that just see your content and they don't do anything with it, right? You would rather have 10 people, these 10 people, this type of 10 people, rather than 1,000 of these other type of people, right? Because that doesn't mean anything for you, right? It's good to have likes and people watching, but what is the tangible result of that? That's what matters really at the end of the day. So what it takes is putting yourself out there. I know that it feels strange if you're not like a if you're not used to do videos, for example, and if you want to choose YouTube, which is a very powerful tool, by the way, because there's more people watching YouTube these days than television. So you see that this covers a lot of ground, uh, and it's gonna feel strange in the beginning. And the more you do it, the more at ease you're gonna become in front of a camera. Don't have like super high expectations. The worry is to give as much value as possible, try to really help people and to convey your ideas in a way that resonates with others, and then through that process the rest will come naturally or more naturally. But that's what it takes is to put yourself out there. Okay, so I hope this video gives you some clarity about this question. If you have this question, if you have other questions that you'd like me to talk about or to give answers to, just put them in the comments and I'll record a video about that. If you need the help with some of these things, whether it's like building or scaling your business, just click the link in the description. The link has a video. It's a very short video, 10-minute video. And if you resonate with certain things that are in the page and in the video, just book a call. We're going to go on the call together, see whether or not I can help you, depending on the things that you're trying to help, whether it's, as I said, creating or scaling. And we'll take it from there. Okay. In any case, I hope you like this video and I'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye bye. See you.